Welcome everybody to another edition to Comic Book Flashback. Today we are looking at Daredevil issue number 1. This issue came out in April of 1964, and as we look on the cover today, we are looking at the very first appearance of Daredevil in this issue. This is the very first issue that we're looking at today for volume 1, and so I'm so excited to look at the origin story of Daredevil today and just see how Matt Murdock became Daredevil. And so if you were fortunate enough to get Amazing Spider-Man number 1, you were also very fortunate to get Daredevil number 1 as well. And so the only very difference between Amazing Spider-Man number 1 and this issue is that Bill Everett was put in charge of drawing this issue instead of Steve Ditko. And so I had to say that Bill Everett did a fantastic job in drawing this very first issue. And so let's go ahead and get started with the story today. We begin at Fogwell's gym, and we have these 4 guys that are playing poker, and they keep talking about the Fixer arriving soon. And they keep joking about how every time the Fixer shows up, they all hop to and obey what he does. But all of a sudden, they hear this door open, and who is it standing in the doorway? It is none other than Daredevil himself. So these guys start joking about the appearance of Daredevil. I mean, he does look a little weird here. I mean, if you were living back in the day, you're like, that's kind of strange looking. But Daredevil is going to show them exactly who he is. So these guys try to rough him up. But we see the athleticism right here with the Daredevil. He is just so cunning. He is a very different superhero for his time. He uses a billy club to pretty much stop this guy from shooting him. And so everybody's trying their very best to tackle them. I mean, we got 4-on-1, but it's just like child's play with Daredevil. He can take these guys down easily. And so these guys are being roughed up, and they finally like, all right, what is your deal? What do you want? And they're like, who are you, by the way? And Daredevil says, you can just call me Daredevil. So before we go and continue this story, let's go ahead and look at the origin story of Daredevil. And we go all the way back to the year 1950, and we see a very young Matt Murdock with his father, and his father is known as Battling Murdock. And he gets that name because his dad is a professional boxer. But we come to find out that his dad has been boxing for quite some time, and he's just a very washed up boxer, and he feels like his time is already past him. He can't be the person that he wants to be, but he wants Matt Murdock to grow up to be something special. And so he keeps telling Matt Murdock to go and study. Forget about playing baseball. Forget about playing with the kids in your neighborhood. You need to go and study. And so that's exactly what Matt Murdock does throughout his entire childhood up till he is in high school. He is always watching people, have fun, but he's over here studying. And so what does the kids do in the neighborhood? They give him a nickname. They start calling him Daredevil. And so that nickname is going to stick with him throughout his entire childhood, and he's just had enough of it. So one day he goes to his dad's gym, and he just starts punching on this punching bag, and he knocks the punching bag off. He's like, maybe I can use this time to really use my frustration out, just start exercising. So that's exactly what he starts doing. He starts lifting weights. He does all these exercises. So now we have a very young Matt Murdock in tip-top shape. He's very athletic, and that will play a big role into later on when he becomes the Daredevil. So one day, Battling Murdock comes home from his trip, and he's like, how are you doing, Matt? I'm just checking up on you. And Matt Murdock is making straight A's at this point in high school. But one dark secret that Battling Murdock has, and that is that he's having a very tough time finding work. It's been a very long time that he's had a wrestling match, and so he's very desperate. So he makes a very fatal decision here by looking for the Fixer. And so the Fixer here gives Battling Murdock a contract, and so the Fixer is going to help him land some wrestling matches, get some money under Battling Murdock's belt here, so that he can finally, not worry about sending his son to college. That's his biggest goal. He just wants to make his son happy and successful. So one day he's so excited, he's come home and he tells Matt Murdock all about it. He's going to be getting some wrestling matches soon. But one day, while Matt Murdock is leaving the library, he sees this old man and he's just crossing the street. But this old man in particular is blind. And this old man is also deaf as well. And there's an oncoming car coming his way. So what does Matt Murdock do? He's very courageous here. He leaps in front of this truck and saves the old man. But one thing we need to look in particular, and that is this truck was filled with radioactive materials. And so that lands on the face of Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock is rushed to the hospital, and Matt Murdock is now blind. And so that's one thing we're going to have to worry about now, is a very blind Matt Murdock. He has that disadvantage now, that disability. But because of that radioactive materials landing into his eyes, it has altered Matt Murdock's other senses. So now Matt Murdock has the ability to hear well, he can taste different things very well, and he can touch things and also hear the heartbeat of people around him and know exactly what footsteps and who is walking. I mean, just an uncanny ability that he has now. And so that's going to play a big role when he finally becomes Daredevil. And so Matt Murdock graduates high school and he has a new roommate, and this roommate's name is Foggy Nelson. And so Foggy Nelson is going to be a key character as we look later on in issues to come of Daredevil. He's going to be a key character and probably the best friend of Matt Murdock. And so Matt Murdock here is just studying through college. And I mean, as we can see what Matt Murdock can do here, I mean, he can pretty much take care of himself even though he's blind. And so one day, while battling Murdock is wrestling, I mean, he's just basically winning all of these matches. We have the Fixer here. He's going to basically set up battling Murdock to fail. He wants Murdock to fail here for some reason. And so Foggy Nelson's like, hey man, your dad's going to be wrestling here. You want to go watch him? And of course, Matt Murdock here also has the tickets. So they go watch Battling Murdock fight. But Battling Murdock sees that his own son is in the audience. So instead of doing what the Fixer tells him to do, he does something very different, and he actually wins the match. And so the Fixer's not happy about that. He's not happy about the double crossing, so he tells his advocate here, Slade, to kill Battling Murdock. So that's exactly what happens. And so Matt Murdock gets word of it. He's very upset, but he has to continue with life. So we see Matt Murdock, he graduates high school, and he also agrees to join Foggy Nelson to become an attorney at law, to become a lawyer. And this is where Matt Murdock meets this girl right here, this lovely girl right here, who he eventually fall in love with. Her name is Karen Page. And so right on sight, or not on sight, but actually from just hearing and smelling who she is, he can definitely see that she is a lovely lady. So that's going to play a big role in later issues. So Matt Murdock comes to his senses. He says, I've never really wanted to become a crime fighter, but since I have these unique abilities, why not? So he stitches up his own costume, and here we go. We have Daredevil with his own costume here. So that's exactly how Daredevil came to be. And so now we're here at the present day, and Daredevil is still looking for the Fixer. The Fixer finally shows up. He's like, what do you want? Are you looking for trouble? And so Daredevil, again, knows that the Fixer is the one that killed his father. He's the one that ordered the death of his own dad. So we see Daredevil, he's going to fight off the rest of the Fixer's goons here. And so, again, Daredevil fighting like a madman here, doing his best. Even though he's blind, he can take care of himself. He's shoved out the window by Slade, but Daredevil here is going to come back in through the window. Foggy Nelson's looking for Matt Murdock. He doesn't know where he's at. He goes to his office. Karen Page doesn't know where he's at either. And she also says that Matt Murdock is very handsome. So there we go with that. We're pretty sure that Karen Page has an attraction towards Matt Murdock. So Daredevil, again, he's like, I know you're responsible of killing Battling Murdock. And he's like, he knows too much. So they instantly get away by injuring Matt Murdock's wrist here. And they slip into the crowd thinking that, Daredevil's not going to find them. So we see Matt Murdock, he goes back into his civvies here, but he's following the cigar smoke of the Fixer. And so that's how he's going to try to capture these two goons here. And so they try to get in the subway to leave, but Daredevil stops them in their tracks. And so this is where we're going to see pretty much the climax of this story. Will Daredevil be able to stop both of these guys, as they seem to be leaving and running in opposite directions? So Daredevil uses his club here to, strike down Slade, but we also see the Fixer is running. So he uses this trash can, and now he's rolling after the Fixer. The Fixer has a heart attack and dies, and the police show up and are like, who are you? And I said, I'm the Daredevil. And they finally capture Slade here. Slade confesses everything of what's been going on. So now Slade is going to jail, and he's also going to be put on trial. We come to find out that Foggy Nelson was alerted about that case with Slade, and he turned it down, knowing that Slade is guilty. He's pretty sure that Slade's guilty due to the story that he read. And he's like, are you sure you're not mad at me for turning that down without your approval? And Matt Murdock says, no, not a single bit. And so that's how we end this issue. I hope you liked it. It's a very unique issue, very unique origin story. We will look into more of the life of Daredevil as he takes on his very first supervillain in issue number 2. I hope to see you there. And until next time, God bless.